I mean, this movie is Johnny's, you know. I mean, this is why I'm sitting here. I would not be here for anyone but him, you know.
Well,
oh, I think I'll have an asthma attack now.
While he's choking, I will say, you know, in terms of the economics, I mean, the beauty was that Bruce, when he finally cracked it, and called me and said, "I understand now. You know, these two characters must go into one. It's got to be Hunter. It must be Hunter, only Hunter." Death?
Nearly.
No, he's all right.
Can I have some more of your coffee?
I think it's gone away.
Oh,
where's Nathan? His first draft was essentially the shooting draft.
I have an inhaler. You need it?
Do you have one? How much?
Can we do this?
You're going to charge us?
Free if you let me into the after party. I'm under 21.
You're in.
No. Are you? Can I take one from University of Washington, UW? Well, I'm going to. So then we'll come. Stay put over there. This is Cassini. I'm going to say Cassini. Does that look right to you?
Cassini.
Yeah, okay. It says, how did you research the role? Now, of course, you played older Hunter Thompson. Now you're playing Margin Hunter Thompson.
It was interesting, you know, because having played Raoul Duke, which is the sort of full-blown, essentially the full-blown Hunter Thompson, circa 71, 72, but also, I mean, he was the Hunter Thompson, you know, up until 2005, the one that I knew. It was kind of a great challenge that Bruce and I shared. How do we approach this guy? How do we approach Hunter before he found his voice? And luckily, Hunter was so incredibly generous with me over those years that he gave me, you know, I knew him so well that he gave me those, you know, those sort of moments. He gave me, he told me about himself and schooled me about himself before he had found that outlet, you know. So yeah, that was basically it. It was you know, the idea is how do you sort of trim off the edges of that kind of flamboyant character and find what he was like pre-freedom, you know.
You were able to go back to the later full-blown version a little bit in Rango as well, yes?
There was a moment or two, yeah. Yeah.
All right. Let's stay. Oh, look, it's Austin at Columbia College. That would be in Chicago, I believe. To the director, that would be you. Do you feel like you needed to live up to the infamous Fear and Loathing, or did you start from scratch?
Completely from scratch. One of the things you have to do as a screenwriter, which my sins I am, is read the source material and throw it away, because otherwise you're stuck in trying to. I mean, I'll give you an example of this. Is that my favorite book on earth is David Copperfield, and it's 900 pages long. It took Dickens 2 years to write, and if I was asked to write it as a flick, what am I going to do? I've got 105 minutes. So you have to absorb the essence of what it is you're trying to write and make it your own. And certainly with the Ramdari, there was no way I was going to sit there and in my writing room and think, oh, what did Hunter say here? What was this scene here? I wanted to be in the vernacular of Hunter S. Thompson, who, you know, we all incredibly admire, but I couldn't try and write like him. So I read the book a couple of times, threw it away, and then wrote my version of him, of what I thought Hunter would be in my head when I was writing this thing. And indeed, there are only literally 2 lines of the book in the film. Great lines they are too. One is, have some fun with a fucking Luger, which is one of the lines, and we'll be lucky to find an oil spot when they're looking for the car. But I had to kind of just love him, which I genuinely do as a writer. He was one of the great 20th century writers, him and old Bill Burroughs and 1 or 2 others. But he was such a great writer, and he really affected me as a writer, even though I found him later in my life.
In the room.
Apparently that's what he did.
In the room to the right.
Hi, thanks to both of you for being here. There were many things that I really enjoyed about the film, but in the spirit of Hunter Thompson and the rage that you're talking about, I want to, not
coming?
quite rage, but I just want to ask you a little bit about something that bothered me a bit in the film, which was the portrayal.
Me?
You, Johnny, you.
Yeah. Oh, I had the same problem.
Yeah. Unwatchable.
Yeah, I know.
No,
I have the same problem with every film I do.
there you go.
Isn't that weird?
No, it's
We should
about
probably move in together, shouldn't we? We see
What's
eye to
that?
eye, don't we?
What's that?
You and I.
Yep. Hey, I was an actor for a while. If
Where
you
are you
need a
going with this,
stand-in,
man?
I'm in.
Are you? Is
What's that?
this like a weird pickup?
It is.
Focus.
It's not going very well.
I think it's going very well, actually. I am intrigued. I am.
Well, what is it? The question is about the...
Come forward, young man.
I will. Find me afterwards. I'll be in the bathroom.
Are you selling tickets?
What's happening?
in the bathroom.
All right. Somehow veering my
What are
way
you
back
going to be
on
doing in the
track.
bathroom now?
Yeah.
I'm not turned
okay.
on anymore, by the way.
What's that?
I'm not turned on anymore.
Okay.
All right,
Close.
keep going. What?
It was a good
what?
try. Okay, I want to ask you about the portrayal of Puerto Ricans in the film. To me, it seemed like there were a lot of violent men and sort of sexualized women, and that bothered me a bit. I'm curious whether that was something you were concerned about, or what your thoughts are on that.
Is your feeling that the Puerto Ricans portrayed themselves badly?
No,
I mean
it's
the Puerto Ricans in the film, because they were actually Puerto Rican actors.
I guess
actually-
I'm just curious about in the writing of the film when you were creating some of those secondary characters. How did you conceive of them, and was that something that you thought about?
I think really the film. I mean, you know, at its core is you know what enraged Hunter was the idea of the despoilization of a paradise. You know, when Cuba, for example, in '59 was no longer available to the U.S. government, where do they go? Puerto Rico. What's next? Let's take it. Let's take it. Let's have it. Let's chew it up. Let's churn it out. And so essentially, I mean, that's really what was going on. But I myself, I don't see anything in the film that is misrepresentative to Puerto Rico or to Puerto Ricans at all. I think it represents very, very well the truth, in the sense that this horrific capitalist monster was coming in there with, you know, gnashing teeth, and it commenced around then, and they're still gnashing, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
You just shook your head when he asked the question. So do you want to comment or
Well,
move on?
yeah. If I may.
We're going to see him in the bathroom later, don't we?
Yeah, we can have a follow-up discussion.
Both of us.
Discussion.
What will he do? The whole thing, which is the motor drive of the movie in a sense, is, you know, when you see West Side Story and you see these gangs in New York who are basically Hispanic gangs. What happened in the 1950s is that the U.S. moved into Puerto Rico with the United Fruit Corporation, and everyone who worked there on, you know, pineapples or whatever it was, were thrown out of work because the equipment moved in, and now it was big business. And so the Puerto Ricans suddenly found themselves, after 500 years, having no jobs, nothing to do. They couldn't do the fruit anymore, and then they moved to New York, and that is West Side Story, you know. And then it's the same thing in England, you know. We fuck them up, and then they come over here to our country, and then we kind of are critical of them finding work in our country. And that's exactly what happened in Puerto Rico. It was a very, very bad time in the 50s and 60s for the Puerto Ricans, you know. They were really torn to bits as a society. Anyway, fuck it.
Thanks.
He's made me have coffee, too.
Do you think this is too much of a repeat here from Trey Morgan at Fort Hays State University, or you want to? We can all vote on this. Do we want to take the Fort Hays State University question? How is your approach to portray a younger Hunter S. Thompson different than your previous portrayal in Fear and Loathing? Was it more challenging this time?
We've answered that.
I think we've covered the ground, but I mean, of course, yeah, it was infinitely more challenging because it was a kind of a version or a sliver of Hunter that I had to discover, you know, after he'd already made his exit, you know.
So over to this side.
Hi. I have a question for Mr. Robinson. What's one of the most important things in screenwriting you think anyone interested in getting into the field should know and consider when writing?
You should all see and read Withnail and I, for starters.
Oh,
That is
seven people have.
That's. I'm sorry. Withnail and I is I swear to you, like in the top 3 films of my absolute all-time favorites. You know, up there with To Have and Have Not and Time of the Gypsies. Withnail and I is a must-see, and if you guys don't have a copy, I'll send each one of you one.
Oh, it's an Oprah moment. Okay. Not a card for everybody, but a...
And you know what? I'll make coffee in the morning as well as waffles. Go ahead.
She's looking for screenwriting guru tips.
Oh.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to... It's a good question.
No, it is a good question. Christ, what do I do? The only thing I do when I try and write a script is to see it as a big picture, and I have a big wall in my writing room where I just write down ideas all the time. Then I suffer because it's incredibly difficult. It's a real